Al from Foreigner, my favorite band.
All right. So we have Al Greenwood from Foreigner. Al, thanks for stopping by. And Greg is a music aficionado. If he loves
Oh, yeah.
music, meaning,
Okay,
yeah, especially
very good.
certain time periods. So go ahead,
Uh-huh.
Greg, and why you're a fan of Foreigner, and then ask your first question for
Well,
Al.
I'd love to I'd love to ask you a back-to-back kind of goes a long question. How did you guys meet and decide to start Foreigner to begin with?
Well, this is actually Mick Jones' band. So he started the whole thing off. It was in February of 1976 that I got a phone call from Mick. And I didn't know who Mick Jones was, but he explained that he had been in Spooky Tooth and the Leslie West Band and a whole bunch of other things that he was doing, and that he wanted to put a new project together. And would I be interested?
Oh, very
So,
cool.
so I told him, I said, I've got my own band at the time. I really wasn't looking to do anything else. But after thinking about it, I said, well, he's probably in a lot better position than I am to get things going. So I said, okay, let's do this. So we got together in his manager's office, which was on Broadway in Manhattan. And in the middle of his office, he had this storage area. So we moved aside all of these file cabinets and we set up our instruments and we started to play. Well, we just jammed, really. Blues jams, Johnny Be Good, you name it, we played it. And after about 2 weeks of this, I say to myself, gee, I don't know if this is for me. We're just jamming. There's no songs. There's no direction. I think I'm going to just go back to the band that I had. So the next day I go in and I'm about to tell Mick, and he says, I've got this song where he starts to play, feels like the first time on guitar. And I said, whoa, wait a minute here. I think we've got something special going on. And that was the very beginning of what was to become Foreigner.
Wow.
Wow. Wow. Real quick follow-up on that one. Did you guys, I have to know, ever imagine how successful Foreigner 4 was going to be?
Well, I really wasn't a part of Foreigner 4, but I have to admit, when I did hear Foreigner 4, I knew that this was going to be spectacular and a huge hit.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you were there, you had that big break, right?
Well, it
When you
was it, it
joined.
was the start. It
Yeah.
was like shot out of a cannon in March of '77 when we released that first record. It just it went gold within 4 weeks, which at that time for a debut artist, it was a record for a new band to go gold. And we went right out on tour. We supported the Doobie Brothers, which was great because I love the Doobie Brothers. And we were on, it was Michael McDonald who was there. So it was a great time for us, a good way for us to grow because we had never played together before as a band live. That was the first time that we went out live. So after about 4 weeks of being with the Doobie Brothers, our record went platinum. And they put us out on our own as a headliner. So from that point on, we were headlining shows. Everything went just so quickly.
Wow. So would you say that the song was the big break or the Doobie Brothers playing with them was the big break?
Oh, absolutely. The song. I
Yeah.
mean, it took to radio really quickly. I mean, it shot up to number 4. Um, and it was, that was what really propelled us was the song Feels Like the First Time.
Yeah.
And, supporting it, we were, like I said, just trying to get our live act together, which we really hadn't worked on. We hadn't thought that it was going to take off that quickly. Um, but we put it all together, and we were all musicians, all from great backgrounds, so we knew what to do, and it worked out really well.
Putting all you guys together, there had to be a special chemistry, right? Going on.
Yeah, yeah, we all came from different backgrounds. I mean, Mick obviously had this extensive background of all the bands that he was in, all the influences that he had. I was into progressive rock at the time, Emerson, Lake and Palmer and early Yes and early Genesis, all that stuff was my thing. And when Ian McDonald came down to join the band, I was blown away. It was like, oh my God, King Crimson. So Yeah, that became a part of it. All the different influences. I mean, Dennis Elliott, he was in a British band called If, who were sort of like a Blood, Sweat, and Tears version, jazz rock version. And Lou Gramm came from a blues rock band called Black Sheep. So we put all these influences together and the chemistry and all that just worked really spectacularly to make the sound that was Foreigner.
Oh, wow.
What were some of your favorite or fondest or best memories that you had when you were with the band?
Well, there was one show that our manager wanted us to do. We were in the studio. We were finishing up the Double Vision record, and we were in LA. We were in Studio City, and Keith Olsen was producing it. So we're finishing up, putting final touches on the record, and we get a phone call from our manager saying, "I've got this show that I want you guys to do." And we said, "Well, we're in the studio right now. We're not really set up to do a live show." And he says, "No, no, you really have to do this show." And he wouldn't tell us what it was. So I go, "Okay." So the next day we go into a rehearsal studio in LA, go through the set once, not knowing what this is all about. The next day they take us to the airport and we get into helicopters. I go, "Okay, well, this is interesting." So we're up in the air about 20 minutes, and I'm looking down and I say, "Gee, that looks really strange." And as we get closer, I realize it's just people. As far as I can see, it was just people. So we land, and I realized it was California Jam 2. And we were in front of 300,000 people. It was going to be televised live. And we just ran through the set once. But we pulled it off. It was great. And not only that, but I think we played Hot Blooded for the first time in front of 300,000 people before the record was even released. So it was sort of like trial in front of 300,000 people, and they seemed to enjoy it. So that was great.
That's amazing.
Wow. That's got to be crazy. That many people?
Yeah, yeah, it was incredible. It was just like you just look out, you couldn't see the end of the people. It was just amazing.
How
But
do
it
you
was
have
a
the
great bill. It
energy?
was,
Is it really easy to get the energy in a crowd that large?
oh yeah, the adrenaline just flows like crazy. I mean, you are in it. It was just a wonderful experience. Aerosmith was also on the bill.
Oh,
I
wow.
believe Heart, Ted Nugent, a whole bunch of other bands during the day. It was a whole, day-long festival type thing.
Well, it's interesting. You mentioned Aerosmith. I'm in Boston. That's where, those guys are.
Right.
I'm always curious. Do you guys like from different famous bands become friends and get together and stuff? Or
You try to. I mean, you pass each other, on the road when you're on the road. You do shows with each other, which have, very little contact. At that time, everybody's just doing their own thing and going around. There was so much music going on and so many tours happening that that there wasn't that much time to, get together, except with your opening act. I think the Cars opened up for us for a while, so we were good friends with them. Cheap Trick opened up for us, so we remained really good friends. So great band, great guys. So yeah, you do tend to get some relationships going, but it's hard when everybody's going from city to city, and you're just passing each other. One night, the night before, they'd say, "Well, Aerosmith was just playing the night before," and then you come in and you play. It was that exciting. There's a lot going on.
Well, definitely seems like it. And I guess when you look at your Foreigner versus other bands at that time, what made you different?
Well, I tend to think we had songs. I mean, the songwriting was just spectacular. And by the way, both Mick Jones and Lou Gramm are also in the Songwriters Hall of Fame. So the songwriting was great. The musicianship was really spot on. I mean, we had this multi-layered sound. I mean, on the surface, it may seem like it's simple, but when you break it down, you peel away the layers. There's an awful lot going on, and all of us, contributing all the different influences that we had, made that sound. And I think it influenced a lot of other bands that came after us, including Journey and Bon Jovi and a whole, Loverboy. I could name a lot of bands that seemed to be influenced by what we were doing.
Yeah, I can definitely hear that for sure. So you mentioned, Writers Hall of Fame. What's it like being part of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
Oh, that's an incredible honor. I mean, to be recognized finally by the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for the achievements that we made, that's something we've waited for a while. But I'm really happy, ecstatic. I couldn't be more elated than to, finally get in there. It took us a while, but we did it. And now we're going in, and I'm just, I have, goosebumps thinking about, the induction ceremony and being there and being among, all the legends that inspired us, that came before us. So, and that's very humbling.
It seems so humbling in so many ways. And I feel that, why do you think it took so long to get that recognition?
That's a very good question. I do not know the answer to that. I mean, there's been rumors as to why we were held off for so long. But to tell you the truth, I do not know what was on their minds. I think we definitely had the credentials to get in. We had 16 top 30 hits. We had 9 top 10 hits. We had a number 1 with I Want to Know What Love Is. 4 and a 4 was on at number 1 on the charts for 10 weeks. We sold over 80 million records. I don't know what else, you could do as far as credentials to get in, but so we've been very patient. We've waited, and here we are.
That's phenomenal. Who are some of your influencers? Like when you were coming up, like,
Oh, I am a fan of music, all kinds of music. So when I was growing up, I listened to just about anything. Obviously, I was 14 when the Beatles were on Ed Sullivan, and that was like the moment that, turned everything inside out. And then I wanted to be in a band after that, and I just was in one band after another after another. But I've had so many influences. I think Steve Winwood, when he was with Spencer Davis, and then with Traffic, he was my idol. I mean, the keyboards, he had such a spectacular voice. Also played guitar. Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Keith Emerson was a big influence on what I did. The Yes Band and Rick Wakeman, keyboard players. I just, I would listen to just about anything. Tower of Power was a big, John McLaughlin and the Mahavishnu Orchestra. I was a big fan of them. Early Genesis, when Peter Gabriel was a part of the band, just, blew me away. Queen, big fan of them. So yeah, a lot of influences. I would always listen to just about anything. I was like a sponge, just taking everything in.
See that? I think that's the cool thing of creative people, is they look at their idols and try to look at what their skill sets are and emulate them and set yourself to the bar. When did you know how good you were on the keyboard, Al? What
Well,
age?
I'm still trying to figure this out. I don't, I'm a perfectionist. I always prided myself in trying to be as best as I can and constantly learn. I was always, trying to do new things, and with synthesizers, trying to get new sounds, and just trying to be the best that I could, and listen to everything I could, and pick up what I could. I went to Brooklyn Conservatory of Music for composition and arrangement to try and be a songwriter myself, because I've been in so many bands that have broken up before. And I said, I need to be more independent. I can't rely on everybody else because everybody keeps leaving me and going different directions. So that was a big influence on me, to be able to write and to be able to put things together on my own.
Okay. Greg has, you have any other questions, Greg, before your final?
Yeah, just another quick one for you. Being a musician, and especially I mean the era that I was listening to all around the same time, 70s and 80s. I mean, music today and and acts today are so different. You- Whatever happened, to regular instruments and not everything being a DJ based, electronic system. It's like so different now.
Yeah, it is a bit different. I must admit, I'm very fortunate to have been growing up in the period when, you played your own instruments and you wrote your own songs and you there weren't any tricks involved. You go into the studio and you played, your music. Um, Nowadays it's different. There's a lot of computers have come into how you create. A lot of different producers on the same record, so it's not the continuity that you would have as a band. But I think, things go in cycles, and I'm hopeful that, bands do come back. I mean, vinyl has come back. I'm I'm
Yeah.
hopeful with that. I mean, it's great to have a record, that you feel and you open up and you read the liner notes, and that's a wonderful experience. And, people didn't have that until this revival again of vinyl.
Yeah.
So yeah, all those things are going in cycles. So I'm sure that bands will come back. Um,
So yeah, it's everything's cyclical.
yeah.
Now, what projects do you have coming up right now, Al, that you can promote? What's going on for you?
Well, we're doing the induction on the 19th in Cleveland, which is I'm looking forward to that. Then right after that, um, the Present Foreigner band who are out there, they've been out there for almost 20 years. And they're great. I mean, great bunch of guys, fantastic musicians, and they put on one great show. And we join them every once in a while. The original guys go out there and join them and that's a whole lot of fun. I mean, to meet the fans and go out there and be with the guys. But after the induction ceremony, we're going to be doing the residency in Las Vegas at the Venetian Hotel. So there's 8 shows there. So Rick Wills and I will be joining them to do all 8 of those shows. And that's the end of their tour for this year. But they've been telling me that next year they're going to cut down the amount of dates that they do, but that we would be more involved in doing those shows too. So I'm looking forward to all of that.
Right. Well, fantastic. Greg has his final question, and be ready, Al, for this question.
Okay.
All right. I ask everyone, and I'm really looking forward to learning from you on this one. So, Al, tell me, what do you feel is the most important thing in life that you've ever learned?
Oh, it has to be persistence. I mean, for me, I've gotten to a brick wall so many times in my life, and you have to find a way to get over it, around it, through it. You can't just be stopped by somebody telling you no, or this you're just not good enough, or or something happens, and you just have to keep at it. And where there's a will, there's a way. That's as simple as I could say it. You really have to, if you want to do this, if you want to dedicate yourself to being in music, which is it's hard, and especially now it's even harder. You really have to keep going. You just have to keep going.
Fantastic.
Right.
Thank you.
Wow. Al, best place people can find info on you. Where can they go?
They can go to my website, which is al-greenwood.com. And the reason that the dash is in there is because algreenwood.com is owned by someone in England who will not give up the domain name.
Really?
Yes. And I've offered enormous amounts of money to get that, and they will not give it up for some reason. I don't know if there's another Al Greenwood somewhere, but they're not using it. It doesn't go anywhere.
Oh my goodness.
So it's al-greenwood.com. So you'll see all the information on me. There's some music that I've been doing lately, a lot of pictures, bios, and just tons of stuff. So.
All right. We appreciate it, Al. That was the special simulcast of the Neil